if you're making a movie about this, you'd probably do 30 seconds on the game and then 20 minutes on the press conferences after, because this is the first. We heard a little bit from Tonda Eckert before the game, and as you can imagine, he kind of batted the inquiries away. And what I will say about Tonda is he's very kind of dead-eyed, thinks he's one of these. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. He's one of these people that leaves. Some people wish I did this, but leaves a little pause after every question and considers what he says very carefully. So it's not out of character for him to stare down a reporter, pause for 2 seconds, and say, "I'm not going to be talking about this." We then hear from Kim Hellberg after the game, and he does then use the word cheating for the first time, and we kind of hear half of what Kim thinks, because we're going to hear the full thing after leg 2. And then this subplot, this extra character, I don't know the name of the guy, but the Southampton media officer, he doesn't leave 2 seconds before he chirps up and kind of talks about this stuff. And I know he's only doing his job, but Tonda is understandably, I mean, this is an example of everybody doing their job. The journalists are doing their job asking. Tonda is obviously trying to protect his position by saying as little as he can. Now, whether that kind of stinks of guilt or not, you tell me. But that's what most people would do in this situation, wouldn't they? And the club, the press officer, is trying to shut the whole thing down. But we end with Tonda just walking out of the press conference and being kind of scuttled away by the press officer. So at this point, you can see that things are getting very, very tetchy, and this is only going to grow, this storyline. It does quiet down a little bit, and you wonder, look, is this all going to drift away? And is the second leg going to kind of be the end of this? There was still that thought in my mind, even though the charge had gone in. Is there a way that they're just going to pour water on this because of what we're going to get into, the just completely disastrous implications of it, for the EFL, logistically and credibility-wise, in terms of the £200 million game. So we get to Tuesday night, and again, what happens on the pitch does and doesn't matter. I talked about the 4th of April, where Southampton were massively popular, and the nation was kind of sat there on Easter, munching on their Easter eggs, watching an underdog victory over the champions-elect of the Premier League by Saints. Well, they're far less popular now. The kind of people's champion is Middlesbrough. And if you wrote a villainous script here, we get the Middlesbrough bus pelted by bottles on the way in. We get Southampton captain Taylor Harwood-Bellis, allegedly, and Luke has not taken this any further, being incredibly offensive and discriminatory on the pitch to Luke Ayling, the Middlesbrough player. Did I do an allegedly before that? I'll do an allegedly afterwards. We get things kind of bubble over then at that point between Tonda and Kim in the dugout, all very, very unsightly. We get the game go to extra time, and then, of course, Southampton win it with a bit of a fortuitous goal, actually. It's a cross by Shea Charles that Dale Fry kind of weirdly ducks under, that flies in off the post. And in extra time, Saints, the people's champion back in the FA Cup against Arsenal, now the pantomime villains with all of this, they're going to qualify for the final. And we all knew going into this game, the best case scenario for the EFL was that Middlesbrough qualified and not Southampton, because now we have Southampton in the final. One party that's all forgotten in this is Hull City, who have perfectly fairly qualified for the final themselves in the other semi. They'd won 2-0 at Millwall the previous night, but they're going to be put as up in the air as the rest of us in terms of all of this, including me. by the way, I'm supposed to be covering this game, and I've booked a train, and I've got the refundable option. But look, we'll get to that because obviously emotions running very, very high. Kim Hellberg then in the post-match press conference does go all in and, yeah, completely scorched earth. What has he got to lose at this point? And, yeah, just buries Southampton and says he's got nothing to say to Tonda Eckert, and he'd acted in an above-board way, and he'd not spent time with his young family because he was watching public domain footage and not having training observed, and all of that stuff. Look, who am I to minimise anyone's emotions? But the key thing is that the infractions happened and there's evidence of it. But, you know, it's interesting to hear the view of the person who, let's not undercook this, his life's work is to be in the Premier League, and he's in a 2-game tournament, and he thinks he's been cheated out of getting to the final of that tournament. So I get it. And then in goes Tonda, press conference number 2, with his sidekick Simon there, if you watch Alan Partridge. And things build up. Mark from Sky presses. And then I didn't give this guy credit. It's Dom Shaw from the Northern Echo. Not all heroes wear capes, Dom. Pipes up and just cuts to the chase and says, Tonda, are you a cheat? Did you cheat? I think those are the words he uses. At which point, there's this very kind of performative, show some respect. And yeah, I don't think the irony was lost on anybody of this press officer saying show some respect when there's a photo out there of, someone spying on training. So I'm not sure the respect thing kind of washes. But Tonda walks out of the press conference again, and yeah, it doesn't matter what he says. Everything's going to be sorted in the independent adjudication of this. However, this doesn't feel like it's been handled magnificently well by the Southampton press officer, the comms team. Tonda, could he have said, we're working with the EFL. We believe in the sanctity and, fair play in the game, and we will work with them to reach the right verdict in this. And I can't say any more because the inquiry is taking place, and I don't want to prejudice it, but we want a fair outcome for everybody. Could have just said that, couldn't he? Easy. I'm no neuroscientist, but yeah, that flowed fairly easily. Here we go then, because Middlesbrough are just now going to go scorched earth, aren't they? And this is obviously evidence that Middlesbrough have procured